Prismatic Titan has been underwhelming, to say the least, and Bungie did say they're looking into it, but there are some things that are really fun to use, like the new exotic Hazardous Propulsion. This allows you to load up to 6 rockets in your backpack, I guess, and when you pop your barricade or your thruster, if you're using that, it's going to send up to 6 rockets forward to deal a good amount of damage to enemies around you, as well as buff your rocket sidearm and rocket damage. And this damage buff can go up to 35%, so you can do some crazy work with rocket sidearms and rockets when you have this exotic equipped. So I had to make a build for you guys with this. It's actually a super fun build, and you could even run double special if you want. So diving into the subclass here, I'm going to go with Glacial Quake for the super for 2 reasons. One, this will allow us to stun overloads pretty easily if we pop it and hit them with our melee, or we can also get Frost Armor from Facet of Purpose. Now we're also going to go with Rally Barricade for a shorter cooldown on the barricade. You could also use Thruster, but I've found it doesn't really work that well with Dranger's Lash, which is going to be one of our aspects, so I'm sticking with the Rally Barricade. Frenzied Blade for the melee, so we can get 3 of them and deal some decent damage, as well as sever targets with it. Suppressor Grenade is going to be my grenade of choice here because it suppresses and stuns overloads. Not to mention, it's a solid light grenade that can get a bonus damage from one of our fragments. Like I said before, Dranger's Lash is our first aspect, so anytime we activate our barricade, we're going to shoot that out and suspend targets in front of us, which is going to allow our rockets to hit them super easy and deal more damage to them without missing. Diamond Lance is our second one, so anytime we get a kill with a ability or shatter and defeat targets or use stasis weapons, we're going to create a Diamond Lance, and these are going to instantly freeze enemies on impact. Moving over to the fragments here, we got Facet of Purpose to start, which gets us Frost Armor from picking up an orb because, like I said earlier, we have Glacial Quake for the super. Frost Armor gives us a 22.5% damage buff at 5 stacks, and this will last for about 10 seconds if you get 5 stacks. Facet of Protection is next, so when we're in the mix of combat, we're getting another bit of damage resistance. Facet of Hope, so we can regen our class ability when we have an elemental buff, which is going to be quite a lot with this build, so we're going to be able to consistently spam our rockets once we build them up. I'm going to use Facet of Bravery here, so anytime we get a powered melee, our strand weapons are going to get unraveling rounds, and then anytime we get a grenade final blow, our weapons are going to get volatile rounds, and I've been using void and strand weapons with this anyways. It's really good. Facet of Balance is next, so anytime we rapidly defeat targets with light damage, we're going to get melee energy, vice versa with darkness to get grenade energy. And then finally, we're going to go with the Facet of Courage. Our Arc, Solar, and Void abilities are going to deal increased damage to targets afflicted by darkness debuffs. So that's our strand melee, our stasis super, or our Diamond Lance or Dranger's Lash. Our grenades are going to do more damage to them. Now, when we look on to our stats here and what I recommend building into, Resilience, because not only is this a 30% damage reduction, it's also our barricade cooldown, so this will allow us to constantly rotate those barricades, spamming our rockets. Discipline is up next for our grenades, and then you could go with recovery or you could go with strength. I chose to go with recovery just so we can regain health a little bit faster. Now let's look at some of the weapons to bring along in this build. The Call, because it gets buffed, you could also use Indebted Kindness, and then in the future when we get the Solar Rocket one, you can use that as well. Now, I've been actually running double special, and I've been using Buried Bloodline. This doesn't count as a rocket sidearm, but it's still one of the best weapons in the game because of its ammo economy and its exotic perk and Catalyst, allowing us to get Devour and then weaken enemies when we have Devour active. If you need something for, say, anti-barrier, Graviton Lance is also really good with this. And then finally, in the heavy slot, bring along a rocket. Before we go any further, let's take a look at some artifact mods that could help you out. Void is a consistent thing with this build for me, so Expanding Abyss and Void Hegemony have been great for this one. Shield Crust is also great because we have Frost Armor, so our melee is going to recharge faster and deal more damage while we have Frost Armor active. Radiant Orbs, so we can become Radiant anytime we pick up an orb. So now when we pick up an orb, we're going to get Frost Armor and Radiant, allowing us to, again, tap into our fragment that allows us to regen our class ability a little bit faster. Creeping Chill, so anytime we get a stasis weapon final blow against slowed or frozen targets, they release a burst that slows if you choose to use a stasis weapon in the kinetic slot. Or if you're using the Call like me, destroying a tangle with a strand weapon creates a larger and more damaging explosion with Threaded Blast. And then finally, if you're using the Call overall throw on winning hand as well. Now finally, let's dive into the armor mods here in this build. On our helmet here, I'm running Void Siphon. You could swap this out for a Strand Siphon if you want. Just kind of use it to whatever weapon you feel you're going to be using the most, so you can be creating orbs consistent. I also have a special ammo finder. You could use heavy ammo if you have lead from gold on your call, but I would recommend running an ammo finder here if you're running double special like I am. Or you could just throw on another siphon mod, or you could even go with ashes to assets or hands-on or something like that. On the gauntlets here, I've gone for bolstering detonation, so anytime we cause damage with a grenade, we're going to get class ability energy, and then heavy-handed for getting those melee kills to spawn an orb of power, and then I just have fastball here to fill the last slot. On the chest piece, I always recommend throwing on resistance mods, at least 2 of them. You could spend this last one on something else, or you could only throw 1 on. Just have a resistance mod. It'll help you out a lot. On the legs here, I'm going with double weapon surges, so our rockets deal more damage because I'm using a void rocket. You could go with a strand one, arc one, solar one. Just throw a surge or 2 on. And then finally, in the class item here, I have special ammo finisher, bomber, and then a reaper. Thank you for making it to the end of the video here. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It's free and helps me out a ton. Make sure to also follow my TikTok for short form content of breakdowns like this build here or some helpful guides. And then also, don't forget to come on over to Twitch, where I live stream pretty much 5 days a week and play with you guys, help you guys get some things done in game. It's a great time over there. I'd appreciate if you come in to chat and say what's up. And lastly, make sure to click the link in the description for the link to this build. It will take you to Mobalytics, where I have this build and my others linked. You can just copy the dim link, post it in, and you're good to go. Thank you again for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Peace.